Excellent. We seem to be doing good. I think everything's good. I think. I'm not certain. Okay, so what are we doing today? Today, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about a little programming language I found. I should close this out. By the name of nim. So I'm gonna open Visual Studio Code because where else am I gonna do this? And I'm going to close. Oh God, don't worry about that. That's just scary nonsense. Don't worry about the scary nonsense. Don't worry. Also, I'm sorry about the poor audio quality. That's because the headphones that I use are like dead. So yeah, I have to use the microphone on my computer. But anyways, so what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna talk about nim, a language I found pretty rad, very cool. It's supposed to be, I think, a systems programming language. So it compiles down to actual binary for your computer to execute. And the difference there between Python and nim is Python has what's called a virtual machine, which is basically a program which acts like a computer and has its own specialized instructions, and Python compiles down for that virtual machine. So what I want to do is I want to open up Python, and we're gonna write some tests to compare them. And if you're watching and you have any questions, just leave them in the little chat thing and I'll try to address them. So I have the little idle thing and we're going to do a few examples to compare them. Now the first one is going to be one that I actually used with a friend of mine recently who might be watching now or listening. And if you are, buddy, this one's for you. So say we wanted to write a function called min, right? Min. And what min does, it takes two values, x and y, and will return the smaller value of x or y, okay? So you take the minimum between x and y. Say x is the smallest in that case, right? So how would we write this in Python? Well, this is super easy. In Python, I would say, def min x and y. We're saying we're taking two values, x and y, and we're just going to say if x is greater than y, then we're going to return y because that's the smaller. Otherwise, we're going to return x because in this case, y is larger, and therefore x is smaller. Right, and to test that out, you can say what's the minimum between 0 and 1? Obviously, that's 0. What's the minimum of 10 and 5? That's 5, right? You can see that works, and that's how we'd write the min function in Python. How do we do that in nim? So nim, much like a lot of statically typed programming languages, it needs you to specify the types of values for functions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type proc min, and so we're going to say min is going to take two values, x, which is an integer, and y, which is an integer, and this colon at the end here just says the value that we're returning. So we're saying, before we even get cracking on the code, what we're saying here is that the min function is taking a value x, which is an integer, and a value y, which is also an integer, which is, a non-floating point number, and the value that it will return is also an integer, right? That should make sense. And an integer, to clarify, is a number without a decimal point, right? So numbers like 3, 5, 10, 15, negative 37, all that. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if x is greater than y, return y, because that's the smaller of the two, otherwise return x, right? And now it's complaining because I've never used it, so let's write some tests. We're going to say what's the smaller of 0 and 1, what's the smaller of, what was the other one, 15 and 10? Yeah, 10 and 5. Let's do that. 10 and 5. Okay. So if I run this, give me a second because I have to compile it. So I don't care. Anyways, test. So what we should see once I type this in is we should get 0 and 5. So it's compiling, it's doing its thing. Very good. We get 0 and we get 5, right? Works exactly the same as the one that we have in Python. Maybe I should make this bigger. Maybe I should. But you know what? You guys can see it, right? Hopefully. Oh well. But you can see there's not a whole, there's some difference, right? And we can explore more of the differences in a moment. But overall, like the if statements are exactly the same, and the only thing that's slightly different is the defining of the function. Instead of def, we have proc, and we have to annotate the values of our variables or our parameters with the types that they are going to be, right? And I could actually shorten this. I could say instead x comma y is, so I could say x comma y and then a colon and int, because I'm just saying both x and y are integers. And if I compile this again, we should get 0 and 5 again. So 0 and 5. It's the same thing, right? We're just saying that both x and y are going to be an integer. So we can shorten it down and make it, nicer. So some other small things that are like Python, the comments, they start with the hash symbol, which is pretty rad. Cool. So we're going to do some more examples. In Python, the way that you would do the hello world program, you'd have the print statement, you'd be like hello world, right? Like this. Bam, hello world, right? That's how you would write a typical hello world program. How do we do that in nim, right? Instead of print, we have echo, which earlier you would have seen me not use parentheses, but you can use parentheses around it like a function call. But so I'm going to use it like a function call, like print. But we'll get into why you can use parentheses or not in a second. But we can just go hello world, again Python, and we're going to run this. You can see I ran it down here, and down here, if you can see it, it says hello world. Now, yeah, hello world. So that's neat. Yeah. So cool, Alistair. Instead of print, it's echo. Okay, neat. So it seems fairly like Python. What are some other differences then? Well, you've seen before, I can just take out the parentheses from this function call, and it's the same thing. And we can get to that now, actually, if you like. So, no, actually, I want to talk about functions some more. So, nim actually has two keywords for making functions. It has proc, and it has, oh, I just go, no, what was that? Okay, whatever. So it has func and it has proc. I don't know why I didn't do it. Whatever. So it has func and proc. So yeah, I know it's gonna scream at me, but so proc is used for functions that will be changing the value of variables, right? Whereas func, it will have, it's more in the line of a mathematical function, right? It will have no side effects, it will change no variables. So an example would be, this is a good use of, so let's say add. And take two numbers, x and y, they're going to be integers, and what we're going to return is x plus y. Now this is going to be where you can see some difference here. What's the problem here? In this case, is that when I need it? Oh, I see what the problem is. I didn't say it returned an integer. Okay, now can I? No, I can't do that. That makes me sad, actually. Sorry, I'm just bumbling about. Anyways, so we're printing out this function call. Now this is the thing that's interesting about it. Now we saw before with the min function, when we did min xy int, they return an integer. We had this equal sign, right? But all that did was say, next is the body of the function, right? Kind of like the colon in Python. If x y, return y, else return x, right? We saw with this that all that the equal sign did was kind of lead us to the statements in our function, like the colon would in Python, right? But the thing is, if your function is only an expression, right? You can just have the equal sign and then the expression like this. And to prove to you that that works, I'm going to run this program, and we should get 7 because we're taking the sum of 3 and 4. And look at that, we get 7, right? And we could actually change this if we wanted it to be on 2 lines. We could do this, where the expression on the last line in the function is the value that's going to be returned. So if we run this, we get 7 again, because it's the same thing. The cool thing about this is I could say echo I am going, no, the sum is, I could print out this, even though it's just, oh, this is a function. Okay, so functions can't have side effects, like I said. They can't modify state or the world, which includes printing values to the screen. So I'm going to change this to a proc, which can print stuff to the screen. Anyways, so it's going to print out to the screen, the sum is, and then it's going to take the sum and print out to the screen, because we're printing out the sum right here. So let's run that. The sum is 7. Isn't that amazing? Wow. Wow. Pretty wild. So yeah, so keep in mind, the last line in a function will be the last expression, I should say, at the end of a function will be what is returned, right? Which can make things pretty nice, honestly, because then you can have less return statements. And what was I going to say? Yeah, and if your function is only going to be doing one thing, like returning an expression, you can just have it on the other side of the equal sign, which is pretty cool. So let's do some more examples, right? Let's write the factorial function, because that's something that everyone does. So we're going to say factorial. The factorial of some number n is if the number is less than or equal to 1, we're going to return 1. Otherwise, we are returning the number multiplied by the factorial of n minus 1. Right, so if I do the factorial of 5, this is going to be 120. Except I typed it wrong and I'm an idiot. Because of course I am. Of course I am. Of course I did that wrong. Of course, because why would I do it right the first time? Obviously not. Okay, now if I do the factorial of 5, it'll give us 120, right? That's just recursion. I'm not going to explain recursion today because I don't want this to last forever. So if we were to write this in nim, proc factorial, we're going to have a number n, which is an integer, and the value that we are returning is an integer. So what we're going to do is if the number is less than or equal to 1, we're going to return 1. Otherwise, we're going to return n times factorial of n minus 1, right? Basically the same thing as before. And we're going to print out the factorial of 5 because that's my favorite factorial. And that's going to show 120. There you go, 120. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. Cool, very cool, Alistair. Now, I want to show you something, another thing that I think is really, really cool. Every function, so every like proc in nim, and proc stands for procedure. So every procedure in nim, like this, it has a built-in variable called result. Now result is going to be the value that is returned by the function. Okay, so if I wanted, instead of using return statements, I could say result is equal to 1. Or I could say the result is equal to n times the factorial of n minus 1. And I misspelled this. But this should give us 120 if I run this again. 120, it's the same thing. Because automatically, if there isn't already a return statement, it will figure, oh, okay, I'm just going to return whatever value is stored in the result variable. And every single function, every single procedure has their own version of the result variable, which is very nice. I think, I think is just a nice little thing, and you can use it for all sorts of neat little shindigs. So what are some other things that are interesting about it? Well, let's see. What are some other things? We have lists. Well, not really lists. I mean, we have linked lists, but we have sequences. Sequences are kind of more like what you think of in about lists in Python, though they're called sequences. So let's do an example. Let's write a function that will reverse a. Actually, let's do something more simple. I want to show you variable assignment. There are two types of assignment in nim. You got let and you got var. What's the difference? Let will give you an immutable variable. What does that mean? It's a variable whose value cannot change, right? In Python, if I say x is 5, I can just change that to 10 willy-nilly and 15. There's nothing stopping me from changing the value of x, right? But if x was immutable and I tried to change the value of it, the language will scream at me. So let's say let x equal 10, right? And we'll say echo x is x, right? If I run this, it's going to say x is 10. Look at that, x is 10. Isn't that amazing? Also, a side note, much like how we can we have to tell a procedure the values of the parameters that are being supplied, as well as the return type if there is any. Sometimes, or optionally, you can give the type for a variable that you're defining, right? In this case, it can figure out on its own that x is 10. But if I wanted to make it really explicit, I could say x is an integer, which is 10, right? So just giving that out there. And most of the time, you can get away with not telling nim what the value of your variables are, but sometimes you have to be very explicit with it, especially when you come to structures and you're making objects and stuff like that. So anyways, with our example, we have x is 10, and to prove the point that, to prove my point, if I try to make x equal to 25, the compiler is going to scream at me because x is immutable. Okay, here we go. Look, error. X cannot be assigned to. Why? Because it's immutable, right? If you use the let keyword for making variables, you cannot change the value of those variables. Now, if this was instead of let was var, right, what we're going to get now is we're going to get x is 10 and then x is 25. See, x is 10, x is 25. Because with a variable that is declared with the var keyword for variable, that means that this variable, the value stored in it can change, right? Which, is useful. And the way that I like to program in nim is I would only use the var keyword for mutable variables only if I have to. If you can, use the let keyword because it's a lot safer, right? And I'm not going to get why that's safer, but it comes to head, especially if you have your program running like on multiple threads on your computer. Basically, when you're making your program split out into multiple pieces that your computer is running at different times, right? And then you can have data races and all that stuff, and that's bad. Okay. So that's cool, very rad. We also have in Python, we have a thing called a tuple. A tuple is a bunch of values that you cannot change. So 1, 2, high, right? If I had x equal to 1, 2, high, and I tried to make the first element equal to 0, it's going to yell at me because, tuples are immutable. Now, the thing is with nim, you can't have, say in a sequence, I'm going to have x be sequence. It's going to be a sequence of integers. And I'm going to use the @ symbol. It's a macro, which I can talk about later, which basically makes a sequence for you. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3. What's the problem here? X is declared but not used. Okay, well, you know what? You can go bugger off. But so, if I try to add a string to the end of this sequence, it's going to scream at me. Why? Because it doesn't support, also it's immutable. So let's make it mutable. I'm dumb. Okay. Here. So it's yelling at me because it says, hey, type mismatch. You gave me a type I wasn't expecting. We have a sequence of integers and you gave me a string. That's not good. Get gone. Scrub. But if I was adding simply 4, there will be no problems and it will just add it here. And I should show you what x looks like so you can actually see it, so you know that I'm not lying to you when I say that it adds x to the front of it. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. Coolio. Neat. So that's a sequence. That is a sequence. So a sequence or an array which has a fixed length. But they can only store one type of value. But a tuple can hold values of different types. So we could have, say, this could be a person. And the person is going to have a name, which is Jim. And actually, I don't need this. That's a different thing. We could have Jim, and then we're going to have 16. That's their age. Right? This is a tuple. We're going to print out the person. Cool. So we print this out. We see that we have a tuple of Jim and 16, right? Because the person's name is Jim and their age is 16. So I could say something like name. And this @ symbol is for concatenation. If you remember in Python, when you add two strings together, like hello plus world, the process of adding these two strings together is called concatenation. So what's going to happen is it's going to have the word name, and then after the space, it's going to be the name of the person. And then we're going to have age, and that's going to be person. Yes, very good. Oh no, right, tuples are funkalicious. How could I forget? What do you mean? What do you mean? What are you? Got one. How dare you say it? You know what? Fuck it. I'm too lazy to figure it out. So that's that. There you go. That's a tuple. It's just a bunch of values in parentheses separated by commas. And it can store different values, right? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. My computer's on low battery. Uh-oh. That's not good. Whoa. Ruh-roh. Better go not die. Anyhow. Cool. Now, what do I want to do? We're going to do a few more things, and it's going to be real simple. And that's that. Now, let's make a fizzbuzz program. So we're going to have the number, which is going to we're going to read line. So this is going to read a line of input from the user. We say echo enter a number. Okay. Cool. Undeclared. Oh yeah. We're gonna have this. Yes. I'm not gonna sneeze. Okay. Cool. Very rad. Okay. So we're gonna read a line of input from the user. I don't know what's. Oh yes. Yes. Aha. I understand. So here's something that's neat. So standin, STDIN, is a custom variable in the language, which basically refers to the keyboard or some input device. Now the thing about how nim works is we could have this function call the read line, and the thing that we're reading from is standin. We could remove the parentheses, which is the same thing, or have the function call and be standin dot readline. Like readline is something that acts upon standard input, which is true. So I'm going to do it like this because I think that looks nicer because I'm lame. So we're going to get a number from them, and we're going to turn that into an integer. of text object types. Well, you know what? You can go make me sad. Do I have to parse int sad thing I gotta do? Can I just do this? I don't think I can do that. Can't do that. Nope. Okay, kids, this is gonna be an adventure. We're gonna Google stuff. Google. I made you out of clay. What's the warning? Oh man, you know what? I don't care. Whatever that warning is. Anyhow, nim parse string, something like that. Something like that. Okay, folks, we're going on a grand adventure. We're going to find out how to turn strings into numbers because parse int. That's it, parse int. Okay. And we can do it like this. And this is from string utils. Import string utils. So here's the import keyword, just like in Python. And the thing that we're importing is the string utilities. So now we can parse the string into an integer. And to prove that that is a thing that I can do, I can echo your number plus 1 is num plus 1. Let's run that, see what happens. Enter a number 5. Your number plus 1 is 6. Congratulations, everyone, we've done it. We are masters of the universe. So get input from the user. We'll do fizzbuzz from 1 up to the number. Cool, very cool. Now what we're going to do is for every number in the range, for every number between 1 and our number, this is what you can use these ellipses for a range. Isn't that neat? So we're going to say if the n mod is a mod. No, it is. Oh, it is mod. N mod 15 equals 0. Return. I know we're going to echo it. We're going to echo fizzbuzz. I should really. What's wrong with me today? Oh my god. I'm going to enclose it in parentheses like a good Python boy. Elif. And it's elif for extra if statements. Isn't that? It's just like Python. And mod 3 is 0 echo. If you don't know what mod is, it divides two numbers. So in this case, we're dividing our number that we have, n, by 3. And if the result is 0, that means n is divisible by 3. In layman's terms, 3 is a factor of n, right? So in this case, we're going to say fizz, and then elif n mod 5 0 echo buzz, and otherwise we're going to echo the number. Cool, very cool. So now what we should do, what's the problem? What's the problem? Undeclared identifier. Oh, I see, I didn't go up to a number. See, there you go. That's nice. This is the thing I like about Visual Code. It can tell me about all my problems. Anyways, so let's run this, shall we? Let's see. Okay, enter a number. What number should we enter in? Do I have anyone watching right now? If you can, people watching, person watching, singular. If you have the time, comment what number I should enter in. Should it be 3? Should it be 5? Should it be 17, 30, 42? It's really because I don't think I could wait forever. So, it's up to you, really. I'll give you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 it is. Let's go. No, 30. I feel like 30. Let's do 30. Okay. I entered in 30, and you can see that we went up to 30. 30 is good. 30 is good. See? Look, isn't that good? User interaction right here. Got to interact with your audience. But look at that. So we got 30. And we can see this is the number that we entered in, and then went through from 1 all the way up to 30. The reason we know that it's 30 is because before fizzbuzz is 29, and 30 is also divisible by 15. Cool, very cool. Look at that fizzbuzz. Isn't that just like Python? Man, I think it's just like Python. Well, not exactly, but it's a lot like Python. So that's your for loops. For loops are good. Now I think I've demonstrated enough how it is similar to Python. Now I think gosh golly, unless you guys have some other, is there anyone in the audience that wants me to show them anything in particular? Oh, really? I didn't know that. Let's try that. I didn't know that about idle. To learn something new. Let's see. Let's test your words of wit, shall we? The great cookie machine. Holy crap! Oh wow! I didn't even know that. Well, thank you. Learn something new every day. So if you didn't know and you're watching this, as the great cookie machine has told me, if you move up to your previous line and press enter, you'll put it on the current line that you're on. I didn't know that. That's kind of neat. Neat. Wow. But I think what I might want to do is I might want to show you guys the project I'm currently working on in NIM and work on it. If you guys want, or if just you want, comment below. I've been working on a game engine for little text adventure games in NIM, and I can show that off and explain it, or try to explain it if any of you guys want. But you know, it's up to you. If there's any particular thing that you instead want me to show you in NIM, like how objects work, or enums, because you know we don't have enums in Python, or anything like that, I'd be so happy to do so. Or I can mention, because I briefly mentioned macros, I could explain what a macro is. Cool. Is that a sure for my project? Because this is like delayed by some time. Gotta wait for the people, right? Gotta you know, hear the word of the people. Otherwise, what are you, some sort of fucking monster? Maybe, man. Maybe. Yes. Okay. So it has been foretold. It's okay. I forget about the delay too, so it's all good. So we don't want this. Begone. Yes, begone thought. We don't need you. I don't need that negativity in my life. Okay, so we got a few things that I'm gonna talk about. We have the engine, we have the classifier, and I might have to. There, you know, some Python. How do you have to import the, you know, what? Oh my God. Gee, okay, man. We have a master. We have a Python master over here. Knowing things I didn't even know. Gosh, I didn't even know that. Okay, wow. Geez, I'm learning so much today. Now, I warn you, my code is utter garbage because I am in no way a professional programmer, and I'm going to collapse all of this shit. And before anything gets done, I'm going to explain generally how text adventure games work under the hood, right? So, give me a second. I wanna. It's bugging me. I don't need all this stuff in my face all the time. Okay, so a text adventure game, like Zork. Maybe I should bring up Zork for a second. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bring up. Man, look at me, a mad lad. I'm gonna bring up Zork. Don't think I won't. I'll do it. Let's see, Zork. Do I have it? No, I do. I have it. I know I do. I can just go Frotz, right? Frotz. What are you doing to me? Come on. Frotz. Moon Mist. Yes. Let's do. Ow. Zork 1. This is it. So we're going to. So, text adventure game. If you don't know, because not everyone who watches this might know, because this might be people who watch way after the fact. Text adventure game, if you haven't guessed, it's all text. Okay, it's all text. And you can see right now we are in the west of house. We are standing in an open field west of a white house with a bordered front door and a small mailbox here. The way that you interact with the game is by typing stuff like look at the mailbox. The mailbox is closed. Open the mailbox. And I'm going to take the leaflet. Okay, I'm going to read the leaflet, right? So the thing about this, what's happening under the hood is it's taking the input that the user, in this case me, is typing in, and it's breaking down all of your words into verbs, articles, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, blah, blah, blah. All that crap. And I'm not sure if the old Zork games, I'm not sure if they would actually generate an abstract syntax tree based off of your sentence structure. And if you don't know, real quick, abstract syntax tree, it's basically, in this case, it's a sentence diagram of your sentence. So, when you're in English class and you learn about how to diagram sentences, it's kind of like that. It allows us to have a more abstract idea of what's going on. In the case of my engine, I was too lazy and I said, to hell with it, I'm not making any stupid abstract syntax trees. Well, they're not stupid, but I don't want to waste my time doing that. So what was my workaround, you might ask? Because all of the information I need is there. But when you think about it, and shoot, I just closed it out. But you know what? When you think about it, when I say anything like, say, unlock the door with the key, right? The important bits of information in this sentence really is the verb. In this case, the verb is unlock. The direct object, I'm going to do, which is the door, and then the indirect object. So I'm going to say I do, which is, in this case, key. So we're saying we're using the key on the door and the verb is unlock. And we figured that since the indirect object is the key and the verb is unlock, the only thing we could do with the key and the door is unlock the door with the key, right? So the only real bits of information that you need probably, I figured, is the verb, the direct object, and indirect object. Also, I have kind of an idea of why I want to do this because I read some of the documentation on the Z machine, which is the virtual machine that Infocom used for making their text adventure games like Zork. So the thing is, I'm having a stroke. I'm sorry. So once we have the verb, the direct object, and any indirect object, the engine will save those so it can be used by the verbs. The verbs in these cases are going to be basically functions, right? And the main, nope, I don't know what I was going to say there, but since we can use those bits of information, the direct object, the verb, and the indirect object, we can then know basically what we need to do with the verb. The only stickler is in the case of many objects, say in a room I have a blue key, but then I also have a red key in the same room. If I say something like, look at the key, it's going to say something like, which key? Which key? The red one or the blue one? Something like that, because it doesn't know which one to look at, right? In that case, I have some functions which can be used to get the adjectives of the nouns in the sentence to try to disambiguate it. If the engine isn't by itself able to disambiguate which object is the one that is being interacted with, it will say something like, which thing, the red one or the blue one? So now I guess I have to talk about really in more detail this awful code that I've written that's awful. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself, but it's awful. Well, it's not. It's awful. So we have some types here. We got a word type, which is a bunch of types of words. So unknown, this is important. So the thing that I define in this is what I call a classifier. Obviously, I probably shouldn't call it a classifier, but you know what? I don't care. What the classifier does is it takes the words or the input from the user, splits it up into single words, and then it will try to categorize each word, right? It will basically try to put one of these tags on it, like is it a pronoun, is it a possessive pronoun, is it an article, an adjective, an adverb, verb, blah, 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 blah. The only difference here is with the main verb, indirect object, and object, which are put last, which is basically noted just so that the engine knows which is the main verb, indirect object, and the direct object, right? And so the unknown tag is for words that aren't already defined in the dictionary, basically. And what will happen is after it's gone through the dictionary, picking out all the words that it already knows, it will try to classify all the words that it doesn't know, based on some semblance of rules, right? Much like, if I say take the Glorbenspiel, right? Glorbenspiel might not be in my dictionary, but because it's after an article, most likely Glorbenspiel is some sort of noun, right? So it tries to use rules like this to try to categorize certain words. It's not perfect. I won't say it's perfect. Far from it. It's pretty. It's okay. So if you really want, I can get into the nitty gritty and show you the actual code step by step. Do you really want to? Do you really want to see that? Like, I mean, I'm down for it. I'm down. I would talk about this function, which does all the classifying, but I don't know if you really want to see that. I mean, who wants to see that? Like, let's be real, guys. Oh, and so I also have some things. Also, just so you know, you might be wondering, Alistair, why for some of these functions or types does the name have a star symbol after it, right? The reason that it has the star symbol after the name of the word is it basically says that can be used by other programs if this file is imported. So we can get into that more later. And okay, sure, I can talk a little bit about it. I don't know how deep in depth I'll go into it, but you know what? You seem to be maybe the only person here, and if you say it's fine with me, I'm going to torture you. So let's look at this horrible code in this one function. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but here's the generalities. First, what we do is we remove all the punctuation from the text that we're given. This is the raw text. We split it up into white space characters, as you can see here, and we just we filter out any empty strings because from time to time I'm not sure if it carries over with this function, but in Python, I know if I have some text hello space 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 there space space world, right? And I split this up into white space. I'm gonna have something like hello empty string there and stuff like that. And I don't want that because otherwise that can't be classified as a word because it's not a word and that'll just get in the way. So we filter out any empty strings after we split it up into single words. Then what we do, it says remove all synonyms. That's really bad. And I should change that comment. But you know what? I won't because I'm dumb. So the dictionary, the classifier, let's scroll up to it. It has two things, two values associated with it. I should really put comments on this. All the base words known, recognized, synonyms for the, there we go. So basically, the words, it will take a string, which is some base word that we know, and it will just give the word object for that, right? It's a noun, it's a verb, blah, 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 blah. And synonyms, it just allows you to basically add more vocabulary, right? Because what's you could say that the word beautiful is different than pretty, but under the hood, should I really have beautiful be completely different than pretty? Or I could say I could have large and big basically the same word, right? And the user could type any of those in and it would be recognizable, right? And so I have these functions like new word, which makes a new word, who would have freaking guessed, and I have this one, which makes an empty dictionary basically with no words in it. And then I have this monster right here, which basically defines a bunch of words which are going to be needed, like some articles that are just going to need to be there, right? Some adjectives like large, small, red, green, blue, blah, 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 stuff like that. Yeah, end of story. So that if you were to actually use this engine, which I can't imagine anyone at seriously being like, oh yeah, I'm going to use this random guy's game engine for making text adventure games. Just use Inform. But if you wanted to, you would probably want to use this because it has a bunch of already defined words and it will have all the verbs that I'm going to implement. Like, where are the verbs? Like go and look and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's that. Anyhow, so back down to this monster. After we've basically changed all of the synonyms for their base meanings, large would become just big, and so on and so forth, we try to classify all the words, right? This is the thing that I was mentioning before. So the first thing we do is I just call it simple classify. We go directly through the dictionary and see if any of the words that we come upon are words that we know. If they are, we'll mark them, based on what they are in the dictionary. I mean, fairly straightforward. The second way, which is done after, which is what I call the smart classify, it tries to reason what some unknown words are actually going to be, right? This is the example I gave where, if it's the Glockenspiel, most likely Glockenspiel is some sort of noun because it comes after an article, right? After that, we try to find any verbs that we don't know and, say, hey, those are verbs. And then because some rules for some words sometimes need verbs, we try to classify any remaining unknown words. So this tries to give us two times to catch any unknown words. Will it work? No, but it's okay. all this does right here is it says if there's a subject in the sentence, we're going to remove the subject of the sentence and just return the sentence as if there wasn't a subject, because the subject of the sentence is going to be implied to be the player, right? Anyways, yeah, and then we just mark the parts. What that does is it just marks the main verb, the direct object, and indirect object. Cool. And now this crap. I haven't made a whole lot of progress on this. The thing that I have done is, again, we have objects. We have lots and lots of objects. And wait, I should tell you, my main goal with this engine is like for it to be extendable, right? So if I was a person using this engine for some reason, I don't know why I would, and I wanted to add new, I don't know, say I wanted to add a mood to the player, right? Some mood value. I don't know why I'd want to do that, but sure, maybe it's a sanity thing. So you can see the player is currently defined as only having an inventory, which is just a bunch of game objects. And we use a lot of inheritance. But anyways, say I wanted to have a mood. What I could do, because we use a lot of inheritance, I could just say, my player, this is an object that inherits from the player object, and it has something called a mood, and the mood is some sort of string, right? Something like that. Sure, I mean, I don't know why you would want that, but it's open to it. And the engine still should be able to function perfectly fine, right? That's the whole idea. And I have a bunch of different things. So basically everything is a game object, right? So you got this, which just says that a game object is going to have a name and a description. A game item has a little flag that says if it can be taken, and it has a bunch of attributes, which are basically just adjectives. You got game containers, which who would have guessed are containers. They can be locked, they can be open, they have a key, and they have contents. You have directions, so this is going to be used for when for like exits and stuff like that, right? You can go north, east, south, west, up, down, and then all those crazy people directions that some people want to go in. So you got an exit, which has a direction that this exits to, and a room ID. So every room, let's look at a room. Every room has an identifier, which is just a number, right? And this is so that the engine can go and find the corresponding room and load it, right? It also has a little flag to see if the player has been in this room before and all the objects that are in this room, which include exits, actually. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. The engine's kind of gross. So we have the classifier that gets used, all the rooms, the current ID of the room that we're in, the current room that we're in. This flag will in text adventure games, if you type like verbose or verbose on, it will always print out the description of a room when you enter it. Whereas if it's false, it'll just once you visited a room once, it will just say the name of the room. Halt, which tells us if the game has stopped or not. The prompt, this is the thing that the user is greeted by every time they load up the game. So if I run the engine, we can see that we are, oh, Lord. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, let's do it again. So we can see bedroom, simple plain bedroom with not much in the way of furniture. The prompt is this thing. It's a little arrow. I can type things in like, look at the banister. Don't worry about that. That's some debugging stuff I'm working on. This is the sentence. Look, we have the main verb, which is look. We have a preposition at, and then we have the article, and then the object of the sentence is banister. And then we have the shortened version, which is just look banister. Right? Okay. Very good. So we have that. Then we have the start text. This is the text that is printed at the start of the game before you enter a room. So I can illustrate that now, actually. Because you might want something like, you know, oh, you wake in a dark alley. It's a dark and stormy night. Spooky. Something like that, right? Something stupid. And I could, if I so pleased, see our engine. So if we run this, we'll see that when the game starts, it will print out it's a dark and stormy night, spooky, right? And then we'll start off in the room, right? That's supposed to be maybe some text to sort of ease the player into it, right? Into the game. At least that's the idea behind it. Yeah, so if I wanted to, I could also change what the prompt looked like. I believe I can. So I could do something like prompt, what next? I think that's something I can do, if I remember correctly. Also, if you have any questions about the engine, how it works, blah 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 blah, then just ask. See, now instead of the little arrow thing, it says what's next. Kill. Kill. Yeah, cool. That gives me an error. That's very nice. Anyhow, yes, it's very. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you, visual code. I really liked that. Wasn't spooky at all. Oh, okay. Well, neat. Neat. Okay. Well, okay then. Jesus, very rude. I would rather like to have access to the terminal, please. Please, Papa. Can I have some more? Or not? Okay, gosh. I think visual code is having a stroke right now. Nim. It's texting. Oh, Lord. Yeah, let's reopen it. Yeah. Well, the parser isn't that bad. Again, mostly because we're working off of the dictionary. Where to move word data to dedicated file. So I could do that. I could do that. One, I'm lazy, and I figure. Actually, no. I think I kind of have a good reason for this. It could be a good idea to store all of the synonyms and the words in a separate file, in like a JSON file or something like that, right? But the thing is, the way I see it, unless I have some sort of way of verifying it, there's nothing stopping any bad, well, I shouldn't say bad person, but any delinquent from messing around with the JSON file or whatever, and either I don't know, deleting some words from the dictionary and totally fucking up the game, right? I figure by having the words and synonyms added by the programmer, and it's a part of the game itself, that means there's no way for anyone else to tamper with it from the outside. Does that make sense? I mean, maybe there would be some advantages to storing it to an external file, right? But I feel like that might be a little more clunky. What do you think? Am I crazy? Is that not like a rational thing to want, or to want to do rather? Yeah. And on the note on complexity of the parser, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I mean, I've wrote God, words are hard. Maybe it's because I've had experience with writing parsers, because there's, you know, I've written some little toy languages and stuff like that. What is your modification by game? Yeah, true. I guess. Well, then again, the game makers. So, look, friend. So say. Okay, I'm gonna make a completely new file, and we're gonna call it something stupid. We're gonna call it test game. I don't test game. Yeah. Test game.nim. We're gonna import engine, and we're gonna import the classifier. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna have var dictionary. I'm just gonna call it dict. This is gonna be new default classifier. No. You're not annoying me at all. Don't. I'm saying. What the? Sorry, I'm distracted right now. What's the hiccup in the giddy up? Just declare, but you can go cry me a river. That's not a big problem. And then we're gonna have the engine, which is new engine. Yeah, no, you're not annoying me. I'm just what's the problem? You can right, because I'm doing all this. Okay. Oh, now I can show you something. If you want a multi-line comment, it's a hash symbol followed by a open bracket, and you can close it off with a closing bracket and a hash symbol. So I'm gonna do that, and then this won't complain about me redefining engine. Game engine to be used for the game. Wow. Ooh. This is stupid comment, but whatever. It does not matter. It matters not. You do, well, you. What do you mean redefinition of engine? You can. It's times like these I get annoyed as a programmer when I'm getting screamed at. Redefinition of engine. How do you mean? You'll anger me, child. And by child, I mean my computer. Did declare been unused. What? What is this blast for me? Whatever, I'll just call it game. Play it. Good? Great. Cool. I'm glad that we could get over that and you could get over your little temper tantrum. Okay. What am I doing with my life? Okay. So we're gonna take that, add that, and we can just say okay dot start in room 0. Okay. Don't tell me that new room isn't defined. I will. Got room. What are you? Is add room not something that I'm allowing to be seen from outside? Sorry, I'm gonna get to your thing. I just visit room. I'm distracted by this other thing. Came mounted room. What is our problem here? What expected one of engine. Do I not have it? Is it? Oh, yes. I see. Okay, good. So I'm gonna get to your dictionary thing in a hot second. Class. Is it like that? Is it just? I'm gonna have to write documentation up for this thing. Maybe it'll just be like a Word document. Who knows? It'll be really awful. Where's the new engine? Classifier. That's it. It is classifier. Classifier. It's gonna be our dictionary. Very good. Okay. So if we run that, if we compile and run this, we should start off in the bedroom. What is this madness? Oh, I'm not in the source directory. Ugh, you hurt my soul. Okay. Yeah, okay. So that works, cool. So my point is, certifiers could allow easier modification by game makers, though. Game modification. How exactly do you mean by game modification? Do you mean in the way of adding more vocabulary, or like changing the fundamental game objects or something like that? Because if it's in the matter of simply the vocabulary, right? I guess sure it would be easier because you wouldn't have to recompile it and you could just add the words in post. Is that what you're? I would maybe clarify what you mean by easier modification by game makers. Yeah, adding or removing synonyms or words. Okay. Yeah, I can understand how it would be maybe a little annoying to have to keep recompiling your program. But one, maybe I'm just a jerk and I don't care. But also, you can add your own words to your classifier thing. So I could say, I don't know, give me a word. Maybe I want word to be a word for some reason. Add word. And that word is going to be word, and that's going to be a noun. Right? Yeah? You okay with that? Does it work for you? Or I could say cat. Let's say cat. We're gonna add cat, because I know for sure cat and dog aren't in there. Dog. Do-do-do. I should be able to type look dog and it should be fine. Yep, look dog, because it already knows the verb look, but since I already specified what dog is, and I said that dog is a noun, it just recognizes dog as the noun, and then since that works, I didn't realize you could add your own dictionary. Yeah, I mean that's the whole point of the classifier thing, is it's basically the dictionary of your game. That's what I was trying to say with so you don't have to meddle around with any external files. It's all a part of your game. Make sense? Does that clarify your thing? Because yeah, I mean I've made another really stupid engine in Python where and it was for a special little conlang I made. It was for a passage thing at school, and I had it so the God, do I still have that? But I made it so that the dictionary would be as a text file, like I mean, obviously, it's not as good as say a a a JSON file, but I was too lazy to make a JSON file, so I basically made my own domain-specific language just for making the dictionary, right? Where I have, you know, verb inverses and verbs and conjunctions and all that crap, and even the fucking alphabet, consonants, and vowels. But the thing about it, even though it works, right? And maybe it would be better if I had that instead of a text file, it's a JSON file. But the fundamental thing is I feel like it's too clunky and there's too much to like drag around, you know? And for that engine, it was a full-on parser. And so that actually made an abstract syntax tree, which I tell you was kind of a pain to manage for making an actual text adventure game, because you have to go through all the nodes in the tree to figure out, oh, is this, you know, do we have the noun or anything like that? It's just very tedious. Well, we're buffering. Anyhow, does anyone have any other questions about the little engine thing, I guess? Because I'm down to showing other stuff about the engine and explaining it. Though honestly, I'm gonna work on it some more. So if you have any questions, happy to answer them. Don't have any questions as for showing off the project. Yeah, no problem. I'm always down for showing, you know, the stuff I'm working on and trying to explain it, right? I like programming a little bit. So now this is kind of nice because it's like, you know, when you're programming, you'll get errors and you'd have to talk to a duck. Now I can talk to an audience. Isn't that amazing? But what I want to do is I want to start making some of the built-in verbs, right? So this is going to be stuff like the, this is going to be the, God, words are hard. Jesus Christ. This is going to be stuff like go or walk and look and stuff like that. And so what I'm going to need to do is, what I have right now is I take input from the user, I mark the words using the classifier, so I get the object, indirect object, and all that crap. And what this does is it checks if there's any unknown words, tells the user what those unknown words are, and then tries to get input again. Otherwise, what we do is we save the object, indirect object in the main verb. Because my idea is, you know, I can just have those pieces of data and I should be able to do most actions. So now what I need to do, I just need to, I'm going to have to add something to the engine. Because again, my whole idea is to be extendable. And if someone, and that goes on for verbs, right? If someone wants to add a new verb that's not already implemented, like jump, they should be able to add the word to their dictionary, say it's a verb, but then also they can write the code that will perform the action of jumping, and the engine should be able to just work on it. So I'm going to say we're going to have a sequence of, I'm going to say it should be actions or verbs. I'm going to say verbs because I think that will make the most sense. And so this is going to be, no, this has to be a table. And if you don't know, to clarify, a table is a dictionary in Python, right? So if I open up a REPL, no, the other thing, idle, that's it. If I open up idle, if you don't remember, we'll talk about it real quick. A dictionary is a mapping of keys and values. Something like Jimmy is bound to 5 and 10 is bound with 0, right? So I say, hey, what value corresponds with Jimmy? Well, that's 5. And what value corresponds with 10? That's 0, right? So that's in basis premise, that's a dictionary in Python, but in NIM it's called a table. So I'm going to have a table, so it's going to be a mapping of, it's a mapping of strings, which is the name of the verb, and a function. And this is going to take the engine, which is a engine which can be changed, and it will take the sentence. Yeah, it'll take the sentence, Alistair, the sentence, which is a sequence of words. Maps a verb string to an action to perform for that. So in this case, what we can now do is if you want to add a new verb, I'll have to add a new function for it, but you'll write your own function that takes 2 arguments, engine and sentence, and it will perform the corresponding action for that verb. Hopefully that makes sense. So now I gotta update my stupid engine thing. Okay, welcome back. If you want to hear what I'm doing, you might have to rewind a little bit because I just explained what my plan is, my wicked, dastardly, evil plan. God almighty, this is awful. I hate it. But if you need me to re-explain what I'm planning on doing right now, I can do that. So verbs is going to be, for now, mid-table. Ah, God, this is going to be awful. This is going to be awful. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate how it looks. I don't like it. I hate it. Me mad. Okay. Okay. Just want to make sure, I know that when, something's happening and I miss, I'm like, whoa, what the heck's going on? So I think that should be good. For now it's okay, but in 5 minutes from now, I'm going to hate it and want to rip it apart because it's awful and I hate it. Blech. Anyway, what we need to do now is we need to have a way to add more verbs. So we're going to say, oh, or should it be called action? See, I think it should be called action because if it's called adverb, that could be confused with adding a verb for the dictionary, And it's not like they're audience members in the comments. Tell me, do you think for adding a new verb to the engine itself, not the dictionary, should it be called add action or add verb? Because I feel like it should be add action so that it disambiguates it, right? Because someone might get confused on if it's the dictionary or not. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I tend to overthink things. Fuck it, I'm going to say add action. You guys can tell me what you think, but for now, I can just change the name later if it's too bad. So this is going to take the engine because we're adding a verb to it. And then what we're going to do, it's going to take a proc. So I'm going to call it action. And that action itself, it takes an engine, which is a variable engine. I personally do add verbs since it describes exactly what is added. Okay, yeah. You know what? Other people in the audience member, do you think it should be add verb or add action? Vote now. Vote now. Or don't, it's okay. What am I? I feel like I'm dying. I'm not, but sometimes I get confused on what I'm writing. Right as I'm writing it. This doesn't return anything. No. So this should stop complaining. Or it will continue to stop complaining because I left out a ending brace, didn't I? Yes? No? There we go. Adds a verb slash action to the engine's known actions. Okay. So we're gonna say engine dot verbs. I should change that to actions. I'm committing. We're going for actions. I'm doing it. We're doing it. It's going to. Well, now I gotta change the re. Okay. Okay. Everything's okay. I'm not dead yet. I'm not. I did not. Okay. Dot add. We're adding the action. There we go. That's what's going on. What's your aha, because it's a table. What I need to do is I need the verb, which is a string, and then the action, because we're mapping the verb name to the action, right? Right. Yes. What's Oh, and if you've anyone in the audience who doesn't do a whole lot of programming, um, this is what it looks like to be a programmer. You'll get confused every couple of minutes because you're like, what the fuck's going on? And that's the life for me. Let's see, undeclared field. Undeclared cannot be called. Undeclared field, verbs, because it's actions now. Alistair, it's actions. It's Alistair, it's actions. Okay. Cool. Very good. That's that. We've done that. It's very, very good. So, what do I want to do now? Well, I should change my current test because what I want to do is I want to add, I'm going to delete all this because we have our stupid test game in a different file so we can use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an object to the bedroom, and that's going to be the bed. Who would have guessed? Game dot add object. So I need the room ID. So in room 0, what is this? What is this black magic? What is this dark magic that you speak of? An object. Oh, and then we have an object. Okay. Very cool. Very rad. I appreciate it very much. And then our object is going to be, I guess it'll just be a game object. So new game object. So because we have all of this stuff as like classes and stuff like that, and for those of you who do not know what a class is, I don't really feel like explaining it. A class basically is just it's kind of like a template for describing how particular types of data is arranged to make an object of some kind. So in this case, a class, the class game object. The data is the name and description, which are just strings, right? And since I am having, I'm going to have the bed as just a game object, this means it cannot be taken at all, right? It's basically a piece of scenery. So we're going to have the name be bed. What this means, it also can't have attributes. Okay, I'm going to have to make it as a game item, aren't I? Game item? That's a thing, right? Right? Right, Alistair? You tell me. I don't know. I didn't program game item. Is it? It's game item. So I should have new game item, right? New game object, blah, 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 blah. New item. That's it? Just why not game item? I guess, okay, whatever. Inconsistency. Cool, very cool. Very, very, very rad. Okay. We have bed. Description. This is a plain, boring looking bed. Appears that you did not make your bed this morning. Shame on you. Because obviously people should be shamed if they don't make their bed. Says the person who doesn't make their bed because I'm shameful. Anyhow, besides that, and it's takeable, right? It's going to be false. Takeable is false. Attributes. Yeah, it's attributes. Okay. Yes. Yes, good. Join the dark side of the force. Plain. Okay. Real quick. In case I didn't talk about attributes for an object, why are you complaining? Why are you... I don't understand why you're complaining. Is it because I didn't specify that you're the name? Is that it? I don't understand, child. Is it because it's not a sequence? What is it, my child? You make me very angry. Okay. Name, description, takeable, attributes. It's a bunch of strings, Alistair. You're doing it wrong. You're wrong. Wrong. Alistair, you're wrong. What are you doing? This is no bueno. Okay, now we're good. Now we're fine. We're fine. Anyways, the attributes, bunch of adjectives, basically. Basically, some more fluff to help you discern which is which. Now, what I'm going to do is actually, this is going to be, so there's this thing in the main loop. It's a flag called debug, which is always true, I think. And what this will do is when the game starts automatically, is it will go through all of your game objects and your rooms. And for your rooms, it will see if the exits in those rooms connect to other existing rooms. And it will also test if the attributes, the adjectives for each object, actually are a part of the dictionary. Otherwise, what's the point of having that adjective be a part of that object, right? Because the user can't refer to it. So if I run this, I think it should scream at me. I hope. I hope. No. Instead, object assignment error. Oh, I don't like that. That makes me very sad. This game an object. What is the problem here? An object. Generic assign. Okay, 221. Or 211. That's true. Is it because... No. It could... No. Okay, kids. I'm not sure what's going on. Friends. Let's see, we'll get index, and we'll just pull this out. This couldn't make a difference. It really couldn't. I don't see how it could. But who knows? Who knows? There's some disgusting code, I have to say. Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Makes me want to cry. Object assignment. Invalid object assignment. Invalid object assignment. Let's see. Let's consult Google. Let's consult Google. Oh, that's caps lock. What is it? Invalid object assignment. Let's see. This is not the name I was looking for. Get out of my face. Get out of my face. Begone with the... Stack object size here. What does this mean? So for type, my object, your object, which is the thing that's defined down there. Your object is an object. The root object has x and y arbitrary. So we have init, which takes a your object, basically makes x 0 and y -1. We have function f, which takes a variable your object and discards, so I guess it does nothing. Then I have a variable m, which is on my object. I call init, which should make x 0 and y -1. And then we call f on m, which discards. Which is discard the value. Okay, now we have a, which becomes m, and b, which becomes a. Operation successful. I have x75, which is an error. Very confused. Something's afoot, lads. Let's see. Let's see. No, okay. Now, so why is this doing this? I wish it was more helpful, the error. because it is before. It's just literally here, right? Is it because maybe what I might have to do is instead of having an add object thing, I might just have to change the new room thing, because maybe it just can't do that kind of assignment where I'm just going man crazy. So I don't know. Let's do something disgusting, shall we? I feel like that's what I say to myself every time I get to my keyboard and I'm going to program. Let's make something disgusting. It's going to work. Am I going to be proud of it? Not necessarily. So we're going to forget about you, beyond thought. And with the room, we're going to what we want, the new room, because we want it to be a part of the new room. New room. Come here, child. Objects. Okay. So I'm going to change this. Blink, 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 blink. And we'll have objects. It's music of game objects. Okay. Cool. So that should be perfectly fine. And now, what I should be able to do, maybe, is objects, and in the sequence, nope, wrong way around. Oh, let's trick it good. I can have this. This is awful. I hate it. You know, this is one of those things where you're like, don't like it, don't like it. Because I'm not sure. Maybe I could do it. I don't know. 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 It's one of those things that you think you know. I don't know. Don't know it. Don't know. Why are you complaining? I don't know. I don't care. You know what? I'm just not gonna worry about it. Not gonna worry about it. We'll worry about that later. Attributes are gonna be plain. What is your problem? Is it because I bet it's complaining about type. A game item. Okay. Alright, kids. Now I know what this problem is. I know it's why it's complaining. And I know how to fix it. I'm just gonna say this is a game object. Look at that. Totally cool. Totally cool. So since the item is part of game object, if I just say, hey, I put game object before the new item, it'll be like, oh yeah, that's a game object. Now shut up. So that's that. Again with the object, where oh Shemima, what is going on? On 11. There is no assignment. You are mistaken, child. What am I doing? I would really like to not have to rewrite a whole bunch of stuff, but I might. The way I do my projects, especially with this isn't the first time I've tried to make this text adventure game engine, mind you. This is the second attempt. And maybe I'm running across and hitting the wall where I'm like, you know, maybe I'm not big brain enough right now to come up with an adequate solution. You know, and if you're wondering what the hell I'm doing right now, I'm eating a lozenge because my throat fucking hurts. So, all right, humans. I don't understand what the problem is. Now, is it just because I'm using game items? It's not like at runtime. Here, I'll just do new game object. And the name, bed, description, plain, boring. You didn't make it. God, you didn't make it. You should be ashamed. Because game object, it's not like it's assigning it at runtime, right? Okay. What the fuck? That makes me feel not happy. I don't understand why that did that. And frankly, it makes me annoyed, to be perfectly honest with you folks. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to say, hey, yo, my duderino. This is a game object. Item. Embed. Description. Plain. Boring. Didn't. What the fuck? Okay. It's not complaining right now, but it's gonna complain right now, isn't it? Yeah. What the fuck? Okay. 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 How do I add rooms? How is it that I add rooms? Because the last time that I was getting that error, it was because I was using the add room function. So I think maybe it's just, is it the whole thing of adding it not all at once? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know why it's working. All right, I'm calling it. I'm gonna end the stream because I'm hitting a roadblock. I don't know what I'm doing, and I can't imagine this is entertaining. So, if you liked this, I guess say so, or whatever the hell. If you want me to do more videos or streams of programming in NIM, say so. If you have any suggestions of things I should try to program, sure, yeah, comment those down, because I'm always down with trying stuff out. Yeah, I hope I'll figure it out later, because I have no idea what's going on. Oh my god, my dog. But I don't see any problem with it. I don't understand why I'm having the invalid assignment. Because it's not even really assignment. How is it? It's just all I'm doing is whatever. I'll figure it out, probably. Again, if you have any suggestions of other things that you try to program, I'm always down with trying to try new stuff out. So, and then maybe I'll do that as a stream. But yeah, I would say if you're interested in NIM, check it out. They have a website. I think it's called like nim-lang.org. It's not even in the official build yet, but I'm really excited about it. I really like it when I understand what the hell I'm doing. But I mean, that's the same for any language. Anyhow, I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I hope you don't come up. I hope you don't come upon a bug this evening. All right, everyone. Goodbye. Adios. Other words that say goodbye.